what. All right, let's go right back to what we were just saying. When you go
Okay.
7, if you're normally getting up at 6:30 and then that 6:30 becomes 7:30, what's that like?
Well, it's actually 6 a.m. to be ready up and like actually meditating, journaling. The schedule, like the morning routine starts at 6:30, so I got to get up at 6 because I procrastinate a little bit.
Well, yeah, and if you're rushing through that stuff, it's like you get a quarter of the value out of it. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's back right there, Talise. Everybody wants to know about the morning routine. Okay, so what got you into morning routines, or even thinking about that as a thing? And then, what is your morning routine?
So morning routine, if I'm honest, really began about almost 16 years ago when my son was born. It has shifted since. It's always evolving, but the purpose, the intention is always there, but how that morning routine actually functions, it shifts from year to year, season to season. It depends. I mean, COVID, it was about morning routine for survival, just to stay grounded, to stay centered, to have some certainty in uncertainty. But the basics have always been there. I mean, I get up in the morning, first thing I do, it's really, I always have a glass of hot water with lime every morning. And I just sort of like meander my way into the kitchen, get the kettle boiling, stuff like that. I try to make a list the night before of things that I wish to accomplish. And I write everything down and then tell myself, you're going to let go of the fact that you're probably not going to do some of this. So if I check off like 75%, that's a success. But I admit that my lists are probably chocker blocks so that my 75 feels, I'm a Virgo. It's hard. So
how big is your list? Like you're getting 75% done out of how many things you give yourself today?
Well, like this morning, there are like 20 action items.
Okay.
But then they're like little sub things.
Okay, wait, so are those 20, are those everyday things, or are they 20 things that are unique to the 28th of September?
5 of them are always. So hot water, meditation, journal, set intention. That's always, and a workout. Always, always, always. The workout has to happen before 10 a.m. or it's not going to happen.
Ooh,
I've learned that about myself that, I mean, some people can work out at night. Some people, they don't, it's like whenever they get it in. Some people feel great and it's like their thing at night. As you know, Michael, I live with an athlete. He likes to do this workout like at like 10 o'clock at night thing. He's going to be that guy that's like in those 24-hour gyms. That's like there at 1 a.m. That's going to be my son.
He's 16 and I did that. I think the last time that I was like in the gym at 1 a.m. was probably, oh my God, like one of the first times I was really getting serious, like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And when he gets more organized, as I have been trying to do, that's been my coronavirus thing. When he gets more organized, he will see the light that beating the sun up and working out as the sun is coming up is like one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself.
Yeah, I think once you turn 30, you realize those 3 a.m. workouts, it's not happening.
Oh, you gotta have your sleep.
I mean, I'm so boring. Like everyone's like, oh wow, you seem so excited. I'm like, oh, by 10, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
I say that I get up at 6, but I usually wake up before my alarm, which is like around 5:30, because that's when it's like quietest in the house. So I sort of start. It's like getting out of bed, putting your feet on the floor is a multi-layered process.
Yeah.
How often out of the week do you hit snooze? If you're waking up to an alarm, how many days out of the week are you getting up before your alarm? Do you have like streaks? Like you do like 2 days of just totally perfect, and then you 3 days of sleep until 7?
I don't think I ever. Wow. Not get up out. Well, I mean, I have my schedule, and then I'm
mom
the
responsibility.
momager of an athlete. So if there's an 8 a.m. game, like there was on Saturday. I mean, you should have seen me. They're like laughing at me. So we're playing with a new baseball team now. So I've got like my laptop set up. I've got my hotspot. I've got my score. And they're like, and I was like, don't mind me. You'll get used to it.
Was Sam pitching or not?
I'm sorry?
Was Sam pitching?
Sam was not pitching that 8 a.m. game.
What a perfect time to learn music.
I mean, I've actually learned that filming him, because now that has fallen to me, to get all this footage, filming him actually it's better to look at him through the lens because there's a little bit of distance, so I don't get as anxious anymore. So I realized that, like, the minute I look at it in real life, I'm like, oh God, that was a ball. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, but if I'm looking at it through the camera, I'm good. So that's a new thing. But I mean, it's necessity. I've always kind of done it. I mean, if I'm not at a baseball field, I'm on stage. So literally the times like morning routine or my workouts are the only thing that's really mine. So I have to hold to those because I don't know, I know a lot of people that think that self-care is self-indulgent. I'm like, no, it's necessity.
It's like an oil change. You're just
I was like,
yeah, yeah, maybe you're right. It is indulgent, but if you're calling indulgent like working out, getting up early, taking time to like center yourself and figure out what you really want in the world and out of this day, okay, everyone should be super indulgent.
Everyone should be doing that. I mean,
what's wrong with that?
Yeah, that was my main purpose when we were in the height of the pandemic, was just get centered, whatever that meant, however that looked. I know there were a lot of singers that were like, oh, we're doing living room concerts and I'm just going to sing the role that I was meant to sing anyway. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm just going to, get to my garden, take advantage of the things that I'm always complaining that I don't have time to do.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. I mean, you're on the road and you're like, oh, I never have time to read, or, oh, I'm missing all my kids' birthdays, or I was actually on another podcast talking about being vegan, the transition to vegan. And I was like, what if 2020 was the best thing that ever happened to us? I mean, we all had to slow the hell down.
Yeah.
You didn't have a choice. And I mean, I don't know, I guess I'm a little old fashioned in that sense. I mean, I'm just a Southern girl at heart, but people were cooking more. People were at the table more. Your kids weren't on devices because Wi-Fi was stretched to the max because everyone was at home. So people put their devices down and actually had conversations. Everyone had binge watched everything on Netflix. So people were playing board games. I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe that doesn't sound bad to me.
It was really good. I've never made such an effort up until then, I had never made such an effort and been so appreciative of just like the time to be on a call with friends. I've never talked to friends and family more.
Yes, the connections. I mean, just pouring into that instead of all the distractions to me has been great. I mean, yes, has it been difficult? Has it been painful? Absolutely. But I think the way through that for me, has been through my routine, through my workouts, just keeping myself sane, and the rest would fall into part because that's what I can control. So
more structure, more sanity.
Yes, absolutely.
So what did you read?
Sorry?
What did you read? Like you were gardening, and then
I read a lot of things. So there's actually a couple of things on my desk that I realize I need to change out. So Mindset by Carol S. Dweck.
Here we have it.
Love that book. Love that book. Marie Forleo, Everything is Figure-Outable. Such a good book. This one's a little funny. 1 million followers. How to get 1 million followers on Instagram in 30 days.
Listen, I resisted social media for so long, just being like, if I focus on social media, like I am vain and vapid and talentless. It's like, no. Or you're just smart. Like if you have a thing this morning that said like, if you are elite at something, or like you really believe that you are top tier talented, whatever that thing is, you owe it to yourself and that talent to become an expert at sales and marketing.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but that's like, it's become, whether, you like to admit it or not, it is a part of our communication now. And I think that we need to be mindful about how we use that communication tool. Not only that, but again, I digress to my athlete. I mean, we've had to seriously police and talk about Instagram and, Twitter and all of that stuff, because what you put out today is the thing that will nip you in the butt when you're 21 and just about to go to the show. And they're like, oh, so what are we doing here?
You're about to get nominated for an ESPY or whatever, like later than that.
14 years, they'll come back to haunt you. When your brain wasn't even fully formed. Yeah. No, it's real.
It's crazy, like, because it's not for us so much. I mean, we're sort of, in our generation is like inching into that, but I realized, I was talking to my son, I said, look, your generation is the first generation that will have their whole lives on the internet.
Yeah.
Like from birth to death, someone will be able to track you.
Yeah.
I was like, you got to go to grandma and ask for baby pictures of me. They're not online. I mean,
or you can find them on ancestry.com. You'd be surprised.
That's true. That is true.
I wasn't.
I just that was one of them. Another one is Fear is My Homeboy.
I haven't heard of it.
That's a great book. About bossing up on your own terms. So a couple of things that I did in quarantine was learn how to make spelt sourdough. And I also began my certification to holistic plant-based medicine and nutrition, which I've always been fascinated in. And I also made myself a business. So I'm officially now that vegan soprano.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I think I'm very preoccupied with branding these days, and branding in my own way and carving my own path, which has always been sort of odd and not the original path anyway. So I kind of got back to who I am anyway. I was like, I don't really care if other opera singers don't get why I love working out, or because, or why I'm obsessed with, plant-based food. I don't, it's okay. I mean, if it's not for you, it's fine. You can always go look at someone else's page. But I find that when you are authentic to yourself, you find your people, i.e. you. So, I mean, we tend to find each other, like when we're on jobs and things. Like another buddy who's also equally obsessed with weightlifting and working out, Sam Levine, he's in Germany now with his wife and beautiful baby, but we find each other. We find each other. Yeah. So
I think I can hear Freddie Valentine.
And Freddie Valentine. Oh yes, and it's like when you get to work, it's like, did you work out? You already went to the gym. It's like it's.
Freddie has his non-negotiables, which is like his version of a morning routine that he does, which is like, nope, every day got this, and a big part of that is like X amount of something physical.
Yeah.
So
you move your body, you change your mindset. It is like no one ever regrets a workout.
Yeah. So I had a question. You mentioned that your path to where you are right now is not so traditional. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that. What made it non-traditional?
Well, I always say, I mean, I realized it, and so when people ask and they say, oh, so when did you know you wanted to be a singer? And I didn't. I mean, it came really late. In fact, it was just a means to get to New York. I started as a dancer, and I tore my ACL. And then the summer before my senior year, I realized that I didn't have a plan, which really is not okay in my family of overachievers. So all my uncles and everyone either went to Stanford or Berkeley. So we were house divided, lots of arguing. And I had passed out of all my credits. At one point, I thought I wanted to go into law. And I remember going to take your daughters to work day with my godmother, who was an attorney. And I get to her office and I'm like, okay, so what time are we going to court? And she's like,
No.
we're in corporate law. And so she's like, here it is. And I was like, this is so not sexy. Like, you just got stacks of paper everywhere. And she's like, yeah, welcome to corporate law. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So I then got to my senior year, and you're not allowed to have 3 free periods because I tested out of everything. So it was either I hurry up and finish everything and just finish high school early, or I pick an elective. And home ec, I was going to be damned if I was doing. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm nobody's cook, no one's housewife, no. So I mean, we had a massive music program in my high school. I was really fortunate. So we had a jazz band, we had a marching band, we had a chamber orchestra, we had a full orchestra. I mean, we always put on musicals. So I was dancing in Oklahoma, so you'd fake sing, you know what I mean? You know how they're like, oh, just mouth the words, whatever. So, which always makes me laugh when I think about you and Glimmerglass that summer, just side note. I was like, this ballet is taking way too long. I totally shifted to the other side.
Best part of the show for me. For sure.
Yes, because it's a break. But so I said, you know what? I'll just like sign up for one of the chorus things. That'll be easy. And somehow I ended up with like a solo. I mean, I think I asked my choir director maybe like 5 years ago. I was like, why did you pick me? He was like, you were like next on the list. It wasn't because I thought you, I mean, I had never sung. So
you weren't like naturally the loudest one.
No, I mean, I was like I was a cheerleader. I was everything but a singer.
Right.
So, I mean, I was just doing it because it seemed the easiest, most natural.
Do you remember your solo?
Yeah, I was in the Fourier Requiem. It was like not small. It was like huge. So, I mean, like
I'm trying to think about high school doing Fourier Requiem.
Yes, I'm telling you, we were a big deal. They still are. So I decided Los Altos High School.
Okay. I went to Menlo.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. My best friend went to Los Altos High. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, my mom went to Menlo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That is so. Oh my god, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's like, yeah, because when you like mention Los Altos, Menlo, Pali,
yeah.
I mean, those are very specific. You've got to be a Bay Area girl to know like what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's so, oh my god, it's so awesome.
Yeah, my best friend played water polo at Los Altos High, yeah.
Yeah, oh, our water polo team was like,
yeah. She ended up going to Michigan and playing, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I went to high school dances at the Los Altos High, yeah.
Yes! Okay, so you know what I'm talking about then.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
No, I mean,
they had a big music department, yeah.
Huge. So, yeah, I happened into this like solo, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm a senior. This has got to be good. Like, I'm the homecoming queen. I can't mess this up." So,
on.
So I went to take. He had recommended the choir director, a woman to me, to take some lessons from. Her name was Paige Swift. She was a mezzo in the San Francisco Opera Chorus. So I go to Paige, who lived in Palo Alto, and you know, we get it, like she's literally like teaching me this, so I mean, because I don't sing, I don't read music, nothing. So she goes, "Darling, I think you should audition for the Juilliard School." And I was like,
Juilliard?
Hang on, sister. I was like, we're gonna pay you. You don't need to blow any smoke. You're gonna get paid either way. I just need to like get through this. Let's not start setting airs. And she's like, no, I really think you should think about it. So, you know, maybe 3 weeks in, I'm like, but if I went to Juilliard, I would still be in New York City, just across the courtyard, because I had gotten early acceptance into ABT, which I had to decline.
Oh, cool.
Which, I mean, in hindsight is like the greatest gift ever, because I would have been like done like 20 years ago. So, so I learned this solo, and I think, oh, well, maybe I will audition. I ended up not auditioning for Juilliard. I auditioned for Manhattan School of Music. I did not tell my mother because my mother's
You weren't auditioning for Juilliard, or that you were auditioning, period?
that I didn't tell her that I was auditioning for Manhattan School of Music.
Okay.
Juilliard she was okay with because she knew it was the same sort of system. But I really didn't, I don't know, there was something about, it's not like I had any real strong information either. It was just, I didn't like the book. I like the MSM book better. I don't know.
Marketing and branding. There you go.
See, it matters. But my mother was very against Manhattan School of Music because it was just, I mean, it's in the old Juilliard building. It's just a building in the New York City. There's no dorm, there's no nothing. They had like an arrangement for the first 20 freshmen to live in this apartment building with like a block of apartments that they had, but it wasn't really a dorm situation. So there's just too much uncertainty about that for my mother. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. So I lied and told her that it was like an audition for like just general scholarship, which it did turn out to be scholarship. I do tell her that all the time. I'm like, hey, it did lead to a scholarship. So it's not totally untrue. But when we got to the audition in San Francisco, she realizes we're walking in and says, oh, Manhattan School of Music. And she looked at me. She's like, you are so grounded when we get out of here. So I actually got accepted and offered a scholarship on the spot by James Gandry and grounded for the summer before my college year.
Again, so much time to learn music and practice.
Yeah, I was like,
preparing for
really? Who gets grounded the summer after they graduate from high school?
I don't know. I would not have let myself. I would have broken out.
Yeah.
So okay, so you go to MSM. Then?
I go to MSM. I ended up studying with Adele Addison, which was his recommendation, which was probably the best thing I ever did in terms of being a musician. I mean, we talked about it just this past week in Cincinnati. I learned to sing through lieder and melody and chamber music and orchestral works because that was Adele's forte. It wasn't that she was against opera, but she is a huge champion of new works. I mean, Lenny Bernstein referred to her as his favorite instrument. So she has a picture of him. She had a picture of him in her living room where he was kissing her throat. So
wow.
yeah.
Big Leonard Bernstein fans in this household. I have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. So, I mean, I really learned, I mean, it was terrifying because I felt like a fraud for like the whole, like talk about imposter syndrome, the entire like first year of my education, because here I'm at like Manhattan School and everyone's coming in with their cello cases and they've been going to, you know, Saturday prep school forever. And, you know, I was just like, yeah, I just wanted to get out of California. That's why I'm here. I know 2 songs, like a song and an aria. But you know, the struggle was good. It taught me a lot. I had to learn from the ground up how to like read music. I had to go in and teach myself how to learn to practice. And some of those processes they still stick with me today, but which I've realized as I get back into like work again, full speed ahead, I'm like, wow, I have not found a faster process that works for me.
Wait, so share, what is the fast process?
I mean, like when I'm memorizing work, literally, I don't have any here readily at me in my office, but like I get the little notebooks, like you know, like for school, like, you know, they're just like books of, and I literally just have to write text. Like that's the only way I know to memorize it. It's not any faster. And I get a new book for every new role or new whatever I'm doing. And I will literally just write and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite the text over and over again until it sticks. And
translation?
I will start with the translation, and then as the translation and if it's like in French or in Italian, as it becomes fluid, then I just stop and I just start writing it. And so then the process is when I can write it without writing the text, that's the next step. Then when I can just write it without having to refer back, that's the next step. And then when I can write it and then look at it and hear the notes, then I know I'm like, okay, I'm good.
How many lines? Like, how many times do you repeat the same line of text to write it? Like, from the first time to the last time, how many before it's totally baked into your brain?
It's probably different every time, yeah.
Yeah, it depends like on what sticks. If it's German, probably a million. If it's French or Italian, it comes pretty quickly. I mean, once you've learned like the first 1,000 words, it's like it kind of repeats. I mean, I sing all standard rep when it comes to Italian things and French rep. So it's like once, it's like a Neo and
I had a question about how you came to mainly singing standard rep. Did you make choices to, like, did you envision yourself only singing lead? Because you sing a lot of leading ladies, and that's
I do.
it's a beautiful privilege, and I imagine it takes some planning. I imagine it takes saying no to certain things. So I'm wondering how you managed that.
I actually did not choose the standard rep. I actually do a lot of contemporary. I mean, I've managed to keep a foot in both worlds, which I insist on. In fact, like even choosing my management, we were always very clear on what I wanted to do, which is to not be pigeonholed. So when someone says, oh, which do you prefer, like contemporary music or the standard ladies? And I said, I prefer good music, period.
Yeah.
I think that one hand washes the other. So there's a part of me that feels a sense of accomplishment when I've learned a new role. I like the freedom of performing a new role that has no stamp on it already. So I have the liberty to create it myself. And that kind of started, I'd probably say it started with Moby Dick and working with Jake.
Right.
It's been hard, I will tell you, to straddle both. It gets easier now because I think people know me for singing Butterfly and Mimi, but they know that I do new works as well. Like, I just sort of fell in with, once I did Moby Dick with Jake, that sort of led to working with David T. Little and Royce Vavrick, which was JFK, which led to, I'd also always been I've been a part of the American Symphony project up at Albany Symphony, which is how I met Missy Mazzoli. And I was just fangirling her. I was like literally like obsessed and like.
What's happening in her brain?
I'm sorry?
What is going on in her brain that makes?
Oh, it's insane, right?
God, when I like seeing Proving Up at AOI, I was just like, I was extraordinarily gripped. It was like watching something on net. You know what it felt like? It felt like watching like Last Train. We just watched this movie, Last Train to Busan, very intense zombie apocalypse movie mixed with like something on Netflix. It's just.
Wait, where did you see it?
I saw it here at DC at WNO.
Oh, okay. So have you need to, it's coming. So you need to see our production that was in Omaha and that came to New York City.
You guys and it was you and John.
And John Moore. Yeah. 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 So, it's great. Well, I think between Missy's mind, Royce's words, and then James Dara's direction. I mean, it's like Quentin Tarantino meets opera. So,
Royce is a really cool guy. He kind of gives off like that's like very much like it's very influenced by cinema. I get that his whole everything is very like his own style and it's very like cinematic and cool.
Yeah. I mean, he's a crazy story too. I mean, he's from Canada and he's like from like way out in Canada too, where like you wouldn't even think that you would see like more than like 20 humans in a day kind of Canada. But
Well,
he's like so like well read. I mean, like the books. His mom. I mean, he's just an artist. I mean, he just soaks up information and movies, and he's so lovely and fascinating. We're actually working on another project as well, which watch this space, that I'm commissioning. But getting into
that I'm commissioning. Let's hold on. Let's back up. Vegan soprano mogul. Okay, you're commissioning it. Are you?
I mean, we're in the early stages, but yes, we are in talks with a couple of opera companies. I mean, this is the time to be. I'm happy that I never really fit, that I felt like I never fit, because this is the time for people who are movers and shakers, thinkers, who are not in the box. I always encourage, young singers to just not don't fall into that trap of like, I didn't do this young artist program. I didn't do any young artist programs. None. I mean, I didn't get into a single one. And it doesn't matter. I think being true to your talent and your artistry, believing in what you have to say is what matters. Particularly now, I encourage a lot of kids, because I feel like we're in a time of classical music where everyone wants to put out the next Brunhilde. Everyone wants to be Mimi. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but guess what? Only the top 20 girls are getting called for that job. And they already know that they're coming back to do that. So you're not even going to cover that role. What else can you do? We have, like, we're at this time where we have all this social media, and we're discovering that there are plenty of other ways to put out content and music that we were stupid enough to believe couldn't be done. Well, guess what? The Met's closed, but they're producing things. I just went and filmed a concert with the symphony and Cincinnati Opera. I mean, and it was a full concert, and everyone's like, oh, how are you doing that? I'm like, there's a full-on crew there, and we shot it like it was cinematic, and people are producing in their homes. Now's the time to start getting back to recital, to get to concert work, start learning that oratorio, because guess what? That's the art form that's going to survive when we have to be socially distanced. So if you've never thought about any of that music, you need to be thinking about that, because Bohème, Traviata, it's not happening anytime soon. It's just not. I mean, now we've seen that the Mets made their announcement. So, we're going to brace ourselves.
I don't know. That's such an interesting decision. I take them as a barometer of the industry and what at least in America, what they're thinking. And it just seems to me so like you've got so many new audience members during the lockdowns and the quarantine. Then the ones that already existed got even more into you because you were because you weren't charging for the service, and you basically gave this thing away for free that people loved. And if they already loved it, now they love it more. And you're backed by lots of billionaires. Like, there are solutions. I don't understand how you can just throw in the towel like that. That doesn't even require a comment. That's my statement. Caroline does not need to endorse that. You don't endorse that. I'm just saying, putting that out there.
No, I will just say this. This problem existed well before the pandemic. The pandemic has just highlighted a lot of things. I always tell people to, along with voting, I'm like, don't just think you can vote for a president and everything is solved. You need to vote on the policies. You need to vote on local government. You need to know what's going on locally in your government, because that's going to affect you more immediately.
Yeah, I also think it's very easy to just sit back and say, this is what I think. This is what I think they could have done, or this is, you know what I mean? It's so easy to, without having held the position, to just, be an expert on it.
Sorry,
the reality is
Peter Gelb.
We really don't know.
But I do think I could do your job.
I encourage everyone to read the Financial Times and look at Moody's Investor Services and ratings of particular companies around, because it is a business first.
Yeah.
And if you've not run your business correctly, then the pandemic will tell on you.
Well, that's a great way of putting it. Ooh. Wow. Okay, so where do you think, I guess, like, do you think that opera is really, or what do you think is going to be, let me think about it like this. We know where the puck is. Where is the puck going to in terms of opera and in terms of people consuming it, or being on the other side, a person, a part of the industry, a singer?
Look, I definitely think that opera is going to come back. I'm not all doom and gloom, but I think it will be different. And I think that we cannot fool ourselves into thinking that it won't be different. And change is good. It's painful, but change is good. The cream always rises to the top. And it's one of the reasons why I agreed to team up with the Atlanta Opera, because I like the idea of being part of showing what's possible. And I mean, because we can't just sit here and be scared. Someone has to forge ahead and figure out how we're going to get back to the theater, right? I mean, otherwise we'll just sit here wringing our hands. We've done that for like a year, enough of that. I mean, we are literally in rehearsal. We are making it work. The company players are like a pod. We've, teamed up with doctors, and so we're all being tested and still socially distancing, but we're in rehearsal. And it's exciting. Like I came back from Cincinnati, so I am not in the rehearsal room because I am quarantining for the next 5 days, but I'm in the room via our streaming link, which is great. So covers can be there. You can hear what's going on. I mean, we're chatting in the comment box. I mean, there are ways to move forward. The Singer's Mask apparently is brilliant. Thank you, Broadway.
What is this?
It's Broadway that's making the headway. I digress.
Because they're a for-profit industry. That's why. Opera needs to be for-profit in America if we want to have success and innovation.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. But it's nice. I mean, we've been sort of genius in figuring out how to put on a production of Pagliacci. I mean, we're in a live tent. We are I mean, it's actually kind of cool to figure out ways to be socially distanced but still relate on stage, which I think is only for the better for artists, because you push yourself in new boundaries. You can't just rely on the tunes and standing there and singing. You've got to actually act, which I think opera needs. You are an actor.
Are you how are you guys doing? There's a lot of getting right up close in Pagliacci. How are you guys? So what are you guys doing? How is this? Tell us all about it. Literally,
I can't give away all of the details because we'll see it. It's going to be filmed, but as well as being live performances as well. But so we're in a tent, a massive circus tent, which has been erected to keep everyone socially distanced. There is a stage with different sections and we're using vinyl because actually vinyl is better acoustically than plexi. Just FYI. We've learned that it's a better sound production. So sing to the wall. But so in some instances we are divided and completely separate. I mean, most often we are. If we are in the center part of the stage, there's still always 6 feet, and we are in masks. The Singer's Mask. If you're in your plexiglass sort of tower, then you don't have to have the mask. They've gone through great lengths to figure out how to keep the distance. And it's sort of a modern take on Pagliacci, bringing in, modern ideas. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, at first I was like, how's this gonna work? But I have to admit, I'm sold. I'm like, oh, that's cute. We are FaceTiming at times, and
in the opera.
In the opera, yeah, they're FaceTiming, and and even in combat, I mean, we've managed to make it work. So.
Okay, so when are we going to be able to see it? What's
we open in October and we run through November. So It's at Oglethorpe University. Tickets are on sale now. And you know what? What's exciting is that I think we're almost like 40% sold already, like pre-ticket.
In person?
For in person. So people clearly want to come back to the theater. People are like, oh, please. I mean, and that's what we haven't, I mean, we're still in the rehearsal process. So, you know, there's always the big advertisement push. But this is like even before they're,
Right.
we're doing really well. So that's encouraging. But it's nice to be a part of showing that it's possible. Listen, not every company is going to be able to do this, but at least it sets the standard for many companies to make the decision on figuring out how to do it, because someone has to be the first. You know, we can't just keep doing just concerts. We've got to find a way around it, because at this point, we don't know when the end of all this nonsense is.
Yeah.
So wear your freaking mask so we can get through this. Please.
Or you can do what we do. It's just don't leave.
Yeah, just don't go. Just don't.
Very little interaction.
I mean,
outside.
So I moved from one hotbed to the other, like in the height of the pandemic, right? So everyone's like, oh, I mean, aren't you just like, how do you feel about this whole thing? And I said, so I'm from New Jersey. And I was like, just put on your mask. When you go on the floor, just put on your mask so we can get through this, you know? Okay, please. I was like, if you just wear your mask when you go in the store and you're in close perimeters of someone else, we can get through this faster. And they're like, oh, I mean, look, and I say this with all love because A, my family is from the South and I am now living in the South again, ish. Atlanta's the South-ish. It's South, but it's still, but
I think Atlanta's South.
they don't, it's the South, but I'm realizing that there are more people from up north and from like Chicago, like New Jersey, New York, Chicago, and some Floridians, but I was like, so
it's a very metropolitan city.
Very metropolitan.
Yeah.
Was anybody born here?
There's
Yeah,
a lot of,
exactly.
I think that doesn't Atlanta, or I know Georgia gives like a lot of like tax breaks, at least to the film industry. And I think it's got to be a couple of other industries, because I will see companies are just like based there, but I know that the people who work there are not there. So there's got to be some reason for that influx.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot, I mean, I love it. There's a lot of, I mean, once I, you know, well, we all travel around the world anyway, so we see other places. But I have to say, like, getting out of the New York, New Jersey area, I was like, oh, wow, you can have space and a garden and not have to, like, pay your entire, like, child's arm and leg as well. So, you know, I was telling people, I was like, look, if you don't have to be in New York, that idea of living in New York to be a singer and audition season, what audition season? There's no audition season. So, you know, go have a life and be happy and go into New York when you need to go into New York, when it makes sense to go into New York. But I love the change. But that being said, like, there's something about Southerners. They're like, we're done. We gave you our 8 weeks, Rona, we're done. And I'm like, I get it, but we're still having a flare up. So can we just kind of comply a little bit so we just get out of this so everyone can go back to work and
Your small business,
cabin?
stay open. If you want to not have just all of this mess anymore, just do it.
I mean, masks are getting really cute now. So just throw on a mask. I mean, everyone's like, oh my God, you flew for the first time. Like, was it weird? I was like, no, I always have a singer's mask. Like, you know, like, I was like, what? It's the same that I've always done.
Who did you fly? What airline?
I am strictly Delta because that's where all my miles are. And this is the hub. And there are 5 more flights to London than there were when I was up in North in New York. So it's much easier because my management's in the UK. And I do, one day I will get back to Europe again. But yeah, so it was, I mean, this move for us was just a good move all around. We have family down here. My son's baseball is down here. It's just easier for me to get around. And Delta, I have to say, is like legit on top of the whole cleaning. It's like you get in, they're handing you wipes. They're like, wipe everything down. We've cleaned it, but you know, they want you to wipe down when you get in there. I mean, you can smell the bleach, which I like. So
Probably
It's
never
reassuring.
never been a safe, because I've flown a couple of times. I figured, you know what? It's probably the safest place to be, because those companies, like, they are desperate. They know that one thing, like, they're not going to be telling you that they're cleaning it and not cleaning it. Like, they are going all in.
yeah, I mean, and they're making it work. So, I mean, I'm cautious, but I'm not going to drive myself crazy about it, because I think your health, the onus of your health is on you. So I've always been big on taking care of my own immunity for my own self. I wasn't leaving it to anyone else. So I am of the camp that if you are doing what you need to do to take care of yourself and you're practicing, safe social distancing, then why do you need to panic?
Yep. You control what you can control.
Control what you can control.
Okay, so Talise, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Super organized, super disciplined, and like have been that way for a long time. What do you do
Most
when
days.
life gets in the way, when you fall off, as people say? How do you get back on? What is your inner dialogue there?
Yeah, I mean, the falling off, it happens, and I try to be honest about that. Yeah, I mean, in fact, I've made posts about times when I've fallen off, because I'm just so sick of everyone living their best life on Instagram, which is so not true. You know, I made a post the other day. I was like, do the likes really matter if your life on Instagram is not even really what your real life is? Like, you doing it for likes? No, live a life of honesty. So, I mean, like, life gets complicated. I'm a single parent. I'm the mother of an athlete who has a somewhat of a career that has to be managed. I mean, people are like, oh, does he play an instrument? I'm like, no, he's a pitcher, a left-handed pitcher. That's like raising a tenor. So we don't have any time for music. I mean, between keeping his things straight and then my own career, and it's getting increasingly busier for him, life gets in the way. And then the pandemic hit, so you kind of find a new normal, and now we're getting back into the other normal, which requires another shift. So yes, have things, sometimes things get away. Like last week, I mean, I was just like, okay, this week has to be about managing Scheherazade, Chanson de Bilitis, and the 4 catch poems of Delage. I was like, that's the priority. And that's okay. I think you need to allow yourself the grace, and then like just acknowledge it and forget it and move on and reset. Every day you need to restart and not think about yesterday. That was done. It's like the bad high note. It's like, okay, that was the last act. We still got 2 more to go. So they're not going to remember that, and you shouldn't remember that either. So for me, like, even like last night, we were sitting and in the living room, because on Sunday nights we have like what we call the family corporate meeting.
Cool.
And we talk about like schedules, because it's just, I don't know, it's because he's older now, and so we talk about being organized. I'm trying to teach him how to be more organized, because in a few short years, he's either going to draft and be on his own, or he's going to be on his own in college. So, and being an athlete in college is not just going off to college. So you are managing like another career. And we were talking about that, like, we have to be more disciplined. He's like, I've got to, like, no more sleeping in, no more hitting snooze. He was like, I'm going to get my work. He goes, I'm going to switch my workouts to earlier like you do. And I was like, yeah. And then you have the rest of the day, to think about just your other kind of training, the other aspect of training as a player. So literally, like, we're going down our lists, and I was like, okay, no more 6:30. I can't. It's got to be before the alarm. I got to stick to that. Got to get up, get all that stuff done before the monster gets up, because then I have to put on that hat, because now he's at school at home. So before, he was leaving the house and I had like all the house to myself and it was quiet. I was like, okay, have my coffee, sit down with my manager and talk to her. Like, I mean, we usually talk early because she's in the UK. So you have to be flexible and give yourself grace, but you also have to like not fall into like, don't settle for that's okay. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, okay, you fell off, but you know how to do this. So come Sunday night, we're meal prepping and back on it. And you figure out what didn't work last week and you adjust so that next week is better. Mondays, I always say, thank God it's Monday because it's like,
Monday.
I love Mondays. Mondays are so optimistic. It's like, yes.
It's like,
I love Monday.
Like days of the week, like they're just, arbitrary. And we just like gave them a name, but we're all conditioned to be like on this schedule. And it's like, cool, I get to do this week just a little bit better than I did last week.
Yes.
That fires me up.
It's for me, it's like always like your personal best. Like set your, like, what's the next, where else can you level up this week? Okay, so that didn't work. Throw that out. Okay, Monday, new start, new goals, new everything. I love Mondays.
So then, Talise, before we wrap up,
yeah.
What is your intention for the day, but also like for the week? Like, what are you hoping that you want to get done this week?
This week, I have added in a new practice. I just started like 21 days. I always give myself challenges. So I'm doing like 21 days of meditation.
Ooh,
and it's a non-negotiable to meditate for, I'm starting with 10 minutes because I know I can manage 10 minutes. And there are studies that say it doesn't have to be, I think people think meditation is really hard and I can't sit that still. I don't think it needs to be that long. I mean, I think it's like when I tell people when you're starting a new goal, like, okay, instead of talking about cutting out something, why don't you look at it more as like just adding something back in that's better. So I was like, I'm going to start with 10 minutes every morning. Got up before 6 and sat down and I just like already like, I was texting, I was like, oh, okay, so am I missing a link? Are we on? Like I was actually ready for 8:30, whereas like probably a couple weeks ago, 8:30 would come around. I was like, okay. And I'm like, just sort of setting my intention for the day. And I was like, this feels too late. Like I've missed everything already. So, I've added that into my morning list of like things. So that now instead of 4, there's 5. And I personally I realized something about myself with working out. I am happier. I don't know, I had a brain fart and I was like, oh, I'm going to do Shanti just because it's like in my little thing. Let me just see what this is about. No, I need to go back to lifting. I need to lift. Lifting makes me happy. Lifting heavy things makes me happier. So I think, I did it because I was thinking, oh, well, I'm on the road and this is just an easy way to get in a workout. That's fine. It might work for some people. I need to lift heavy things in order to be happy. So
feels good.
Yeah. And so I got to get back to that this week is.
So that's the intention for the week is reconnect, reestablish grip in the steel. And what is the first, like, what is your favorite lift? Like, you see it on your program and you're like, oh, today's my day.
I love deadlifts. I do. Like leg day is like the best day. And I'm like a big girl. So like leg day for me is like, yes.
That's the day where you're like, this is going to suck. Most people don't want to do it. That's the Monday. That's the Monday.
Yeah. And just do like, and I look forward to it. Like everyone's like, oh, leg day. And I'm like, I like leg day, but
if you just decide that you want to crush it and that it's going to be fun, then it will be.
Yeah. I mean, then when I get all of that stuff out of the way, I just feel like I'm freer to then move to opera or, I'm trying to, like, I felt like I was not creative with recipes. Like I'm trying to like compile recipes. I'm making a cookbook and, I don't know, something about summer that's like not inspiring to me. It's like, okay, just,
but fall.
I don't even like to eat. And like, I'm especially living in the heat. It's like, I'll just eat fruit. And that's probably not great, but I feel less inspired. Like the fall, now that weather's changing, I just get a little more creative. And so when I've gotten all those other things out of the way, I just feel open and like my day is still ahead of me. And I can think about rehearsal. I can think about memorizing something. I can think about, you know, doing 2 recipes today and getting through the next 25 pages in my studying. So I'm wearing lots of little hats, but when you take care of you first, then you can
clear out the blockage or the noise, and then it like leaves room for just whatever is supposed to float in and settle to do so.
If you are feeling stuck, you got to work out.
Yes, yes, you do.
Drink your water.
I totally agree, because nobody regrets a workout. Yeah. Okay, Liz, you have fired me up. I think Caroline's fired up. This is going to be a great week. Yeah, seriously, this is so much fun. Any last words you wanna share for whoever's listening?
I mean, I think it's great what you guys are doing and bringing awareness to this, and I hope that there are other singers that, you know, other artists that don't subscribe to that archaic way of life. I mean, if your body is healthy, then your instrument will be healthy, because your instrument is housed within your body. So just, if it makes you happy, do it. Just be authentically you. Don't get boxed in. Lifting is good. Real girls lift heavy.
Strength is an strength is an asset. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be quote for this episode for you. All right, Talise, it's go time for us. But seriously, thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. I'm so happy to know we're like even more connected now. Yes, Valley girls.
Will you say hi to Sam for me?
I will do. He's in there making a 5-egg omelet. I can smell it.
Just tell him to go for 6. Okay. Bye, Talise. Thank you.
Bye.